This page is the front cover of the magazine, The 64Dream, dated April 2001, marked as the final issue. It highlights The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages. It also mentions Peach Stallion 64 and GameCube Powerful Pro Yaku Basic Han 2001. The cover announces Sega enters GB Advance and 30 GB title Great Burst Out. The main headline, Sayonara 64Dream, Soshite Nintendo Dream, suggests a transition from 64Dream to Nintendo Dream Magazine. The cover features artwork of Link, Princess Zelda, Mario, and other characters from the Dream Engine games. This page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Color game Zoids. Jaishin Fukatsu, Genobreaker Hen, Zoids, Revival of the Evil God, Genobreaker Chapter. It highlights features of the game, such as capturing and modifying over 150 types of Zoids to create the ultimate Zoid. Players can also use a communication cable to battle and trade items. A special edition of the game is advertised, which includes a Midnight Blue Command Wolf Zoid toy as a bonus. The advertisement shows screenshots of the game interface and battles, along with character artwork and images of Zoid toys like Iron Kong and Command Wolf. This page announces that the magazine 64Dream is changing its name to Nintendo D-Ream, starting from the May issue, which will be released on March 21st. The announcement thanks readers for their support over the past 4 years and 7 months. It reassures readers that even with the name change, their passion for Nintendo games remains the same. The page displays various Nintendo consoles, including the Game Boy Advance, GameCube, Nintendo 64, Game Boy, Super Famicom, Famicom, and even the Virtual Boy. It states that Nintendo D-Ream will continue to cover all Nintendo hardware and software. Readers are encouraged to look forward to the new Nintendo Dream from March 21st, coinciding with the release of the Game Boy Advance. The announcement is signed by both the 64Dream editorial department and the Nintendo Dream staff. This page is an advertisement for the book series Game Maestro. Subtitled, TV Game History was made by them, Master Narrator Speaks, Secret of Million Seller. The advertisement highlights 2 volumes. Volume 1, Giant's Confirmation, features interviews with prominent game creators such as Tomohiro Nishikado of Space Invaders, Toru Iwatani of Pac-Man, Masanobu Endo of Xevious, Shigeru Miyamoto, known for Super Mario Bros., Yuji Horii, creator of Dragon Quest, and Hironobu Sakaguchi from Final Fantasy. Volume 2, Second Generation Innovation, includes game creators like Koichi Nakamura of Torneko's Great Adventure, Yu Suzuki from Virtua Fighter, Hideo Kojima of Metal Gear Solid, Yoshiki Okamoto of Street Fighter II, Yuji Naka, who created Sonic the Hedgehog, Hiroshi Okubo from Derby Stallion, Tetsuya Mizuguchi of Space Channel 5, and Kazutoshi Ida, known for Doshin the Giant. Both volumes are currently on sale for 1,800 yen plus tax, published by MYCOM. This page is the contents page for what appears to be the final issue of this magazine. It highlights the end of 64Dream after 4 years and 7 months, as it transitions to Nintendo Dream. A special feature is a farewell to 64Dream itself. There's also an interview with Hirokazu Tanaka, related to Chachawi Alien. The magazine covers Sega's arrival on the Game Boy Advance with Choo Choo Rocket, alongside features on The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, Dragon Quest Monsters 2, Derby Stallion 64, and Animal Crossing. The new software information section includes games like Castlevania, Circle of the Moon, Mr. Driller 2, Power Pro Kun Pocket 3, Bomberman Story, and Mega Man Battle Network. The Game Index lists numerous titles with page numbers, spanning both Game Boy Advance and Nintendo 64 games. Regular features include a Nintendo Q&A, monthly news, magazine rankings, and sections on game culture like the Tokyo Game Street Journal. This is a 2001 Nintendo release calendar primarily focusing on Game Boy Advance, GBA, and Nintendo 64, N64. Sega is notable for releasing Dreamcast titles on the GBA. Mario Kart Advance for GBA is highlighted, emphasizing its multiplayer capabilities and Super Famicom roots. Animal Leader for N64, a strategy game with animal battles, is also mentioned, potentially facing a release delay. The calendar lists GBA hardware accessories with a March 21st release date, while the GBA itself is slated for July. Unreleased GameCube peripherals are also noted. The February game releases include Dream for N64, along with several Game Boy titles like Muscle Ranking GB3 and various Wizardry games. March sees releases like The Black Onyx, Dragon Quest Monsters 2, Ruka's Journey, and Mutake Teraizo, all for the Game Boy, indicating a busy period for handheld gaming. The next page shows 2 game rankings. On the left is the Reader's Choice Anticipated New Games Top 20, which this month focuses on Game Boy Advance titles because N64 software sales have declined. The top 3 anticipated games are Mario Kart Advance, Mario Kart Super Circuit, Golden Sun, and Wario Land 4. On the right is a ranking of the top-selling N64 software top 10. The top 3 best-selling N64 games are Pokemon Stadium 2, Mickey's Speedway USA, and Mario Party 3. The page includes screenshots from some of the games mentioned in the rankings. The next page presents 3 different N64 top 10 rankings from reader surveys and sales data. The first ranking is Selling N64 and Game Boy Top 10 based on sales data from early February, listing games such as Yu-Gi-Oh!, Duel Monsters 4, Pokemon Crystal Version, Donkey Kong Country, Dragon Quest II, Pokemon Stadium 2, Mickey's Speedway USA, Mario Party 3, Momotaro Dentetsu, Mario Tennis, and Mario Tennis 64. The second ranking is Most Interesting N64 Software Top 10 based on a reader survey, with The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time at number 1, followed by Super Smash Bros., Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, Fushigi no Dungeon, Furai no Shiren 2, Paper Mario, Perfect Dark, Mario Party 3, Star Fox 64, and Mario Tennis 64. Screenshots of The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Super Smash Bros. Are shown alongside this ranking. The third ranking is Slightly Disappointing N64 Software Top 10, again based on a reader survey, with none in first place, followed by 64 Ozumo 2, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, Air Borders 64, Tamagotchi World 64, Chameleon Twist, Donkey Kong 64, Pokemon Pikachu and Pichu, Yoshi's Story, and Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire. Finally, there is a lighthearted, a little bit painful top 10 list, which is not game-related, but lists common, annoying, everyday situations like static shocks, broken pencil leads, and getting orange juice in your eye. The next page presents The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons for Game Boy Color. It introduces the story where Dark General Gargon has kidnapped Din, the Earth Maiden, plunging Holodrum into chaos. Players take on the role of Link to rescue Din and restore order to the land. The article highlights the Rod of Seasons, which is a key item allowing players to change the seasons and solve puzzles, showcasing screenshots of gameplay featuring dungeons, overworld exploration, and this season-changing mechanic. The page also briefly touches on the game's controls and the connection between Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, which is mentioned as 2, suggesting linked gameplay features between the 2 titles if both are played. This page focuses on The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages for the Game Boy Color. It introduces the story of Link being sent to Holodrum and Labrynna by the Triforce. In Oracle of Seasons, General Onyx of Darkness plunges Holodrum into chaos, while in Oracle of Ages, the Sorceress of Darkness, Varan, travels to Labrynna's past and causes chaos in the present. The page highlights the Link system, a feature shared between both games. It also showcases the time travel mechanic in Oracle of Ages, where Link can travel between the present and the past in Labrynna to solve puzzles and overcome obstacles. Screenshots illustrate gameplay in dungeons and overworld areas, and text boxes show in-game dialogue. The game information box details that the game is for Game Boy Color, published by Nintendo, scheduled for release on February 27th, priced at 3,800 yen in the action-adventure genre for one player, and supports communication cables. It also shows the main menu with options like Start New Game, Say a Code Word, and Use Communication Cable. This page introduces the mysterious keys in Dragon Quest Monsters 2, which was released for the Game Boy. It explains that these keys generate infinite strange worlds for players to explore. The article details 2 types of keys: those that need appraisal to reveal their names, and those that have names from the start, like the Oasis Key and Pirate Key. Screenshots show gameplay and characters interacting with keys and monsters, like Slurpee, Slime, Slime Lily, Zebu, King Leo, Aquabar, and Bubbles that can be found within these unique worlds. The page highlights that the value of a key increases based on its appraisal, indicating rarer keys are more valuable. The game is presented in two versions. Dragon Quest Monsters 2, Malta's Mysterious Keys, released on March 9th, and Dragon Quest Monsters 2, Ill's Adventure, released on April 12th, both priced at 6,400 yen and are RPG genre games for one player. This page is about new features in Dragon Quest Monsters. It highlights the introduction of accessories to power up monsters. There are over 20 types of accessories that can boost stats like defense and HP, and exploit monster weaknesses. Two specific accessories are showcased: the Dragon Scale, which increases defense, and the Dragon Belt, which significantly boosts HP. The page then talks about power-up communication battles, where you can battle friends with your raised monsters, emphasizing new monsters and powered-up features enhancing this mode. 3 rule modes are introduced: free battle with no restrictions, local rule allowing customizable rules for battles, and Enix rule, a basic rule set recommended by Enix for playing with friends. A new communication mode, called cooperative play, is also announced, offering another way to enjoy the game with friends. Finally, the page introduces Malta Country as a new location, pointing out 2 key areas on the map: Azucarisho, storage place, where you can store items you can't carry, and Kakutuju, fighting arena, where monster masters gather to test their monsters in battles. The map itself shows the layout of Malta Country, with these locations marked. This page introduces Derby Stallion 64 for the Nintendo 64, a horse racing and breeding simulation game. It highlights it as a highly anticipated title in the series, bringing the popular Derby Stallion formula to the N64. The main focus is on the new features, including upgraded 3D graphics for all aspects of the game like the farm, training, paddock, and races. The camera angles during races are described as dynamic and TV-like, offering a more immersive viewing experience. The game also boasts updated program and horse data to the latest versions, including new stallions and rival horses, and reflecting real-world racing years. A key feature mentioned is the ability for up to 4 players to play simultaneously using controller packs. Players can participate in horse auctions together in the game, adding a multiplayer element. The screenshots show various game scenes, including paddock views, race starts, and horse auctions, illustrating the improved 3D graphics. There's also a commentator's box during the race, adding to the atmosphere. The game is described as a super popular racehorse training simulation and is scheduled for release in spring, with the price yet to be determined. This page is dedicated to the horse racing simulation series Derby Stallion, highlighting the player's role as a producer, owner, and trainer, aiming for victory in all G1 races. Starting with a small ranch and 15 million yen, you'll breed horses, train them, and enter races, even purchasing horses at auction. The first game, Best Horse Racing Derby Stallion, was limited to Kanto and Kansai races with a maximum of 8 horses. The page then showcases various iterations of the series, including Derby Stallion 2, 2i, 96, 98, and 99 for Super Famicom, Famicom, PlayStation, and Saturn, giving release dates and prices. Finally, it previews Derby Stallion 64, a provisional title for the N64, emphasizing its 3D graphics and Rumble Pack compatibility for a more immersive gaming experience. This page introduces the Nintendo 64 game Dobutsu no Mori, which was only released in Japan, but would later become internationally known as Animal Crossing. It highlights the game's core concept of village life and playing together with family and friends. The page details how up to 4 family members can create characters in one village and play together, sharing the same space and experiences. It mentions gameplay elements like burying items for others to find, selling items to characters like Haniwa-kun, and enjoying various activities in the shared village. The article also emphasizes the game's dynamic nature, pointing out that there are different ways to play in the same environment, like bug-catching contests, fishing, and seasonal changes that affect the types of bugs and activities available. It highlights that certain characters and events are time-sensitive, occurring only at specific times of the year, such as New Year's events and cherry blossom viewing in spring. The screenshots showcase various aspects of gameplay, including character interactions, item menus, bug catching, and seasonal events, giving a glimpse into the charming world of Dobutsu no Mori. This page showcases two Nintendo 64 titles. The first game is GameCube Powerful Pro Yaku Basic Band 2001, a baseball sports game from Konami. This version emphasizes versus play, with updated player and team data. It has intuitive controls and features modes like Home Run Contest and Pennant Race. It was released on March 29th. The second game is Hamster Monogatari 64, a hamster breeding simulation game by Culture Brain, released on March 30th. In this game, players raise hamsters, interact with them, and even breed them. There are over 30 hamster types and a huge variety of animations. Players can enjoy racing their hamsters and arranging meetings between them. It also supports the controller pack. The Game Boy Advance, launching March 21, 2001, marks a new era in portable gaming. It will be available in Violet, Passionate, White, Pure, and Milky Blue. Stylish. Multiplayer gaming is emphasized, recommending accessories like the communication cable, battery pack, AC adapter, and mobile adapter. The GBA uses AA batteries. Two multiplayer modes are detailed: multi-cartridge play and one cartridge play. One cartridge play allows up to 4 players with one game cartridge, but with possible limitations, e.g., Super Mario Advance. Multi-cartridge play requires each player to have their own cartridge, enabling more features, and is the standard multiplayer experience, e.g., Mario Kart Advance. The Game Boy Advance launch boasted a record-breaking 24 titles, with approximately 50 games announced overall, and more anticipated. Major developers like Sega and Square Enix were contributing, bringing franchises like Sonic and Final Fantasy to the platform. The GBA offered exciting gameplay features, including 4-player battles via a mobile adapter. The article encouraged players to share games with friends to experience a broader range. To assist players, the article provided purchase guides, offering themed game packs categorized by genre, such as Nintendo, Action, Multi, Value, Sports, and Intellectual, highlighting a diverse selection of titles to cater to various player preferences at launch. This page is a game preview for Super Mario Advance on the Game Boy Advance. It highlights the game's features, including single-player gameplay and multiplayer modes for up to 4 players. The game is described as a portable version of Super Mario Bros., with enhanced abilities for Mario, like improved jumping, and Peach with stronger abilities. The preview showcases different gameplay aspects through screenshots, including level designs, enemies, and power-ups. It mentions features like the Battle Game mode, which is a coin-collecting battle, and a Classic Game mode, which is described as being able to play the original Mario Bros. Game. It also briefly touches upon gameplay mechanics like using the directional pad and pressing the Yahoo button for spin jumps, defeating enemies, and finding one-up mushrooms. This page showcases the Game Boy Advance title F-Zero. The game's title is officially F-Zero for Game Boy Advance, developed by Nintendo and released on March 21st for 4,800 yen. It's a futuristic SF racing game supporting 1 to 4 players, with communication cable support, single cartridge, and multi-cartridge play options. The page highlights that this new F-Zero game on Game Boy Advance retains the gameplay feel of the Super Famicom's F-Zero, while offering completely new courses and machines. The text describes the F-Zero Grand Prix as a dangerous high-speed race across various planets, attracting pilots seeking fame and fortune. It mentions the legendary status of Captain Falcon and others, hinting at a historical narrative. Featured are previews of several courses from the game within the course introduction series. These courses include Bianca City Stretch Circuit, Stark Farm First Circuit, Laputan Colony Dash Circuit, Stark Farm Second Circuit, and Cloud Carpet Long Jumper Circuit. Each course preview includes a track map and a screenshot from the game, showing the gameplay and environments. Finally, the page introduces 2 characters and their machines: Mickey Marcus with his machine Fireball, and Megan with her machine Hot Violet. This page is a game preview for Kururin Paradise, known in Japan as Kururin. The story is about the main character Kururin, whose siblings have gone missing. Kururin's grandmother asks him to find his 10 siblings, who are scattered across various worlds, using his special helicopter called Helirin. The page describes it as a simple yet engaging game where you control the Helirin. It highlights the multiplayer mode for up to 4 players using a single game cartridge, and GBA link cable support. It mentions that the game is an action genre, and is set to release on March 21st for 4,800 yen. The page showcases gameplay screenshots depicting various stages, including grassland and obstacle courses. It also explains game mechanics, like damage recovery areas marked with hearts, how hitting walls causes damage, and collecting items. The screenshots also show multiplayer gameplay with scoreboards. It mentions that players can customize their Helicrin with collected items. The rabbit character appears to offer advice during gameplay. This page is a preview of the Game Boy Advance RPG Golden Sun, titled Ugon no Taiyu in Japanese. It highlights the game's story, characters, and battle system, which is described as being in 2D, but with 3D processing to create depth. The story begins in Idea Village, nestled at the foot of Mount Alpha, which was devastated by a large earthquake 3 years prior. Robin, a 14-year-old boy at the time of the disaster, and his childhood friend Gerald, embark on a journey related to ancient sealed technology that is causing a crisis in the world. The main characters introduced are Robin, the protagonist, and an earth energy user; Gerald, Robin's childhood friend and a fire energy user known for his warrior abilities; Ivan, a wind energy user with unique powers; and Miri, a water energy user who can heal. They are all described as energists, descendants of ancient people with unique abilities. The page explains energy as a mental power used for attacks and defense. Screenshots showcase exploration of villages and dungeons with traps, and action-packed battles. The battle scenes are graphically impressive for the GBA, emphasizing the dynamic movements and energy-based attacks. The game is scheduled for release in May. This page showcases 2 Game Boy Advance titles. The first is Napoleon, a real-time simulation game set during the French Revolution. You play as Napoleon, commanding troops to protect France from enemies. It features strategic gameplay, including naval battles and encounters with mysterious forces tied to the Rosetta Stone and a character named Tasu. The game emphasizes tactical battlefield control and resource management. The second game is Game Boy Wars Advance, a simulation game in the Famicom Wars series. This title boasts up to 4-player communication battles and a campaign mode with a story-driven experience. The screenshots highlight unit deployment, tutorial elements, and resource management, showcasing its strategic depth. It emphasizes multiplayer and a campaign with dramatic storylines. This page is about Mr. Driller 2 for the Game Boy Advance. It highlights 4 game modes of this action puzzle title. The page describes Mission Driller, the main mode where players drill downwards to a certain depth, featuring stages like Indo, India, America, and Egypt. Another mode mentioned is Endless Driller, a mode where you keep drilling downwards without a goal. Time Attack Driller is about clearing stages as quickly as possible. And Pair Driller is a 2-player versus mode using a link cable. The screenshots illustrate these modes, showing gameplay with blocks and characters. The page mentions that the game has secret driller cards to collect and introduces the characters Hori Susumu and Anna Hottenmeier. The game is described as easy to pick up but with depth, and recommended for both newcomers and fans of the original Mr. Driller. This page is all about Power Pro Kun Pocket 3, a baseball game for the Game Boy Advance. It highlights the story mode, where the main character has lost their memory and needs to do various jobs to earn money and regain their baseball skills. The goal is to defeat the Neo Propera group. The page showcases screenshots of the story progression, job activities, and baseball gameplay. It mentions that you can create your own player and use them in the game, and that the baseball part is very engaging, offering both single-player and multiplayer modes via link cable for battles with friends. It seems to be emphasizing the deep story and fun baseball action the game offers. This page introduces J-League Pocket for the Game Boy Advance, a soccer club management simulation game. As a J-League officially licensed title, it allows you to create your own original club, train players, and compete using real player and stadium names. The game emphasizes building a strong club through player development and strategic team management. Screenshots showcase various aspects of the game, including player training, team formation, stadium selection, and financial management, highlighting the depth of the simulation experience. It looks like a deep dive into the world of soccer club management on the GBA, exclusively for the Japanese market. This page showcases Akumajo Dracula, Circle of the Moon, which was released internationally as Castlevania Circle of the Moon on the Game Boy Advance. This horror action RPG puts you in the shoes of Nathan in 1830, where Dracula has been resurrected by Carmilla. The story focuses on Nathan, the disciple, and his master, who are caught up in Dracula's revival. The page highlights the dual setup system, allowing players to strengthen their whip by combining action cards. The screenshots show classic Castlevania-style action gameplay, with a variety of enemies and 2D stages. It emphasizes the game's quality graphics and exciting battles, suggesting it's a must-have for horror action fans. This page showcases 2 Game Boy Advance titles from Konami. The top section highlights Konami YY Racing Advance, a racing game where you can enjoy racing with popular Konami characters. It mentions you can buy items with coins earned in races, and these items, of 3 types, can be equipped to your machine to give you an advantage in the next race. The page also points out the fun minigames available, and a hint system where you can get information at the rumor bulletin board. The bottom section focuses on Monster Guardians, a monster breeding RPG. This game allows you to raise unique monsters, synthesize them, and battle, featuring a 2-player versus mode using a communication cable. It emphasizes creating the strongest Demon Beast army using the training system and other systems. The page also provides game details like release dates, prices, genres, and player numbers for both games. This page delves into the Game Boy Advance title, Play Novel Silent Hill. It highlights that this version of Silent Hill, originally a popular PlayStation horror game, is being brought to the GBA as a text-based adventure. The page emphasizes the theme of ultimate terror being carried over. The feature focuses on 2 main scenarios, the Harry chapter and the Sybil chapter. In Harry's scenario, based on the PlayStation version, Harry visits Silent Hill with his daughter to take a break, but his daughter goes missing in the deep fog engulfing the town. The screenshots show Harry exploring, finding items like a radio and handgun. The Sybil chapter focuses on female police officer Sybil. She also gets caught up in Silent Hill's strange events. This scenario seems to offer a different perspective of the Silent Hill incident, even for those familiar with the PlayStation game. Screenshots depict Sybil in various situations, including riding a motorbike and encountering a mysterious girl in a cafe. The page also mentions trading card elements within the game, allowing players to collect cards. Furthermore, it describes mobile adapter compatibility, suggesting additional scenarios can be downloaded, offering GBA original content and main character stories. Screenshots show trading card screens, flowchart-style gameplay, and password input screens, hinting at puzzle or story progression elements within the Play Novel format. The next page showcases 2 Game Boy Advance titles. The first game, Mail to Cute, is described as a cute adventure game where you exchange picture postcards with characters, and the story progresses based on your replies. It features mobile adapter connectivity for bottle mail and minigames. The characters are described as cute. The second game is JGTO Official GOLFMASTER Japan Golf Tour Game. Authentic style, golf game, licensed by the Japan Golf Tour organization. It emphasizes smooth graphics, realistic golf action playable anywhere, and is presented as a top tour player experience. It supports up to 4 players and was released on March 21st. The screenshots highlight in-game golf action and player selection. This page is about the game Momotaro Festival from Hudson for the Game Boy Advance. It's described as a variety RPG and is for 1 player. The page details collection and status elements in the game. Players can check their status, which tracks their Yu-Gi challenge level and collected cards. As players progress and raise their rank in Yu-Gi minigames, they earn trophies of glory which are displayed in Momotaro's house. The page highlights collecting cards and trophies as key features of the game. It seems there are mini-games involved and collection elements that contribute to the gameplay experience. This page introduces 3 game features related to albums and collections. The first section is the Yu-Gi album, which tracks your gameplay information, showcasing scores and records for different games. One example highlighted is a game called Harisan Chopun, where the objective is to reach 4,000 points to achieve a 5th rank. The second section details the Omatsuri card, a feature where you collect cards based on 100 selected Japanese festivals. These cards become available as you progress and can be traded with others. It seems you need to obtain a card album first before you can collect any cards. Finally, the page explains Niramiko Asobupu and the Omen album. In this part, you visit a mask shop in the village where you can create your own masks for 100 ryo. You can customize masks by combining various parts like the frame, mouth, nose, eyes, and hair. Created masks can be saved in an Omen album, which can store up to 6 masks again. You can then use these masks to challenge characters in a Niramiko Asobupu staring contest. The screenshots show the mask creation interface and the staring contest gameplay. The game seems to judge which mask is funnier in the staring contest. This page is about the Game Boy Advance title, Bomberman Story, an action RPG where Bomberman investigates an incident on the planet Fantalion. The page introduces the game's flow, which involves exploring various stages, fields, and bases. It highlights three main aspects of the gameplay. Firstly, the field sections are described as vast maps where you battle enemies while progressing the story. Secondly, events occur in towns or fields, such as helping people and finding new allies, like taking a picture of a lost Louis character. Thirdly, bases are dungeon-like areas with maze-like rooms where you must defeat all enemies to proceed, often containing traps. Finally, each stage culminates in a boss battle, and in the grassland area, the boss is Magnet Bomber. The page includes screenshots showing gameplay in fields, towns, and base locations, as well as character art of Bomberman and a villain. This page showcases different zones in a Bomberman game, likely Bomberman 64. The page details 4 zones: Grassland Zone, Seaside Zone, Icefield Zone, and Desert Zone, each with descriptions and screenshots. In the Grassland Zone, Bomberman is on his first adventure and needs to find Pommy to retrieve a ring. Screenshots show Bomberman in a village setting and inside a building, suggesting puzzle elements involving switches. The Seaside Zone is described as polluted and inhabited by carabons. It mentions Bomberman used to dislike water but is okay now. Screenshots depict beach and village areas with enemies like crabs and a large whale-like creature. The Icefield Zone is a frozen stage with giant ice pillars and ice castles. The text wonders why this has happened and calls it a mystery. Screenshots show icy landscapes, seal-like enemies, and ice block puzzles. The Desert Zone features active volcanoes and flowing lava. The residents are suffering from water shortages, and Bomberman is asked to help. Screenshots showcase desert environments with lava flows, quicksand traps, and tent-dwelling inhabitants. This page is all about the Game Boy Advance action game, Pinobee, Quest of Heart. It introduces the game's story about the bee-like robot Pinobee, embarking on a quest to rescue his grandfather and find his own heart. The page breaks down the game into 6 chapters, each with a unique name and setting, like The Forest of Warmth, Fluttering Flowers, Road of Darkness, Land of Captivity, Valley of Wind, and Village of Hustle and Bustle. Screenshots for each chapter give a glimpse of the varied environments Pinobee will explore. A gameplay mechanic mentioned is collecting items of the same attribute to power up Pinobee. It's presented as a grand adventure within a small world. This page introduces Winning Post for Game Boy Advance, a horse racing simulation game where the goal is to become a renowned horse owner by achieving numerous victories. The page details how players can progress from being a horse owner to an owner breeder within the game. It also highlights 4 mini-games that are included: Carrot Search, Paired Horse Training, Sleeping Child Grows, and Carrot Panic. Screenshots showcase gameplay elements and interactions with in-game characters. The game was slated for release on March 21st, priced at 5,600 yen, and is designed for single-player experience. This page introduces the game Rockman EXE, known internationally as Mega Man Battle Network. The page focuses on battles, specifically boss battles, showcasing various characters and gameplay elements. It highlights the story setting where network terrorists from WWW plot evil deeds, and Netto and Rockman are working to stop them. The page mentions that in the cyber world, viruses and netnavis become enemies. The feature introduces 2 pairs of characters, Saloma and Woodman, and Male and Rolls. Saloma and Woodman are described as a girl selling natural bentos and a nature-loving woodman, respectively, emphasizing Woodman's strong wood-based attacks. Male and Roll are described as Netto's childhood friend and classmate, with Roll being Male's Navi, who provides support chips in battles, especially healing, when Roll finishes her role. The screenshots illustrate battle scenarios, showing Rockman using a sword attack and Woodman utilizing tree-related attacks. Another screenshot demonstrates Roll's healing ability. The page emphasizes strategic chip selection and timing in battles against viruses. This page introduces 4 boss scenarios from a game, likely Mega Man Battle Network, although the English title is not explicitly mentioned. Scenario 1 focuses on Fireman, a virus residing inside a microwave oven causing malfunctions. Fireman uses fire attacks and is described as a combination of power and technical skill. Screenshots show Rockman battling Fireman in a cyberspace environment. Scenario 2 features Numberman, hacking into the school server and brainwashing children with propaganda. Numberman is described as proficient in number manipulation and uses number-based attacks. Screenshots show numbermen using number balls as attacks. Scenario 3 presents Stoneman, a Navi, operating an automated program that is causing chaos with rocks and subway lines. Stoneman is described as having strong defense but lacking personality. Screenshots showcase Stoneman's block and rock attacks in a network stage. Scenario 4 highlights Iceman, disrupting the water supply network. Iceman, originally a child's Navi, is now enhanced by a customizer. Iceman is skilled in ice attacks. Screenshots depict Iceman creating ice walls and throwing freeze bombs. This page showcases two Game Boy Advance titles being released simultaneously by Kemco. The first game is All Japan GT Championship, a racing game aiming to replicate the real GT championships with GT 300 and GT 500 classes. You can progress to higher-ranked teams and ultimately aim for victory with the GT 500 Works team. Screenshots show car selection screens featuring vehicles like the RE Amemiya RX-7 and the Calsonic Skyline, alongside course selections such as Fuji Speedway and Twin Ring Motegi. The second game is Tweety's Hardy Party, a party game featuring Looney Tunes characters. The story revolves around Tweety being turned to stone by a witch's spell, requiring players to collect magic jewels to save him. The gameplay appears to be board game style, with characters like Tweety and Sylvester navigating maps that include locations like Paris. Both games are listed with a release date of March 21st and support 14 players with GBA link cable and multiplayer cartridge compatibility. All Japan GT Championship is priced at 5,200 yen, and Tweety's Hardy Party is priced at 4,980 yen. The next page showcases Fire Pro Wrestling A for the Game Boy Advance. This game proudly continues the tradition of the series, emphasizing timing-based moves and unpredictable reversals, a core element of the Fire Pro experience. It introduces new systems that further evolve the gameplay, including a match evaluation system, judging based on audience satisfaction, customizable rules, and new game modes like Audience Match and Survival Match. The game boasts a massive roster of over 200 wrestlers representing diverse fighting styles, from pro wrestling to kickboxing, all gathered in one place. You can see a list of various wrestling organizations featured, including VIU Japan, All of Japan, and Team Black, amongst many others. This page introduces the Game Boy Advance game Hot-Blooded Dodgeball Fighters. It highlights the game's three modes: a single match, sports dodgeball battle, a communication battle mode for multiplayer via link cable, and the main, championship mode. In championship mode, you aim to become Japan's #1 dodgeball team, Fire Braves, by competing in leagues against teams from across the country. The page showcases rival teams from different regions of Japan and introduces key characters such as Goryo Tomoya, Nagase Yuya, Mizushima Eiji, and Kawai Ayaka, with brief descriptions for each. It also details player stats, mentioning 10 basic abilities and customizable parts that can enhance these stats. Formations are also a strategic element, with examples like defense focus and movement attack focus. The screenshots display in-game action and character portraits, giving a visual overview of the game. This page showcases three Game Boy Advance titles. The first game is Doraemon, Green Planet Panic, an action game where you control Doraemon and his friends to clear stages. It features unique character abilities and supports up to 4 players using a link cable for cooperative play in Doki Doki mode and minigames. Screenshots show in-game action and familiar characters. The second game is Boku wa Kuku Kenseiken, Air Traffic Controller, a simulation game where you take on the role of an air traffic controller. You manage flight schedules, taking into account weather and airport conditions to ensure safe takeoffs and landings at real-world airports like Haneda and New Chitose. Screenshots depict airport gameplay and flight information screens. Finally, Advanced GTA is a racing game featuring 46 real-world cars. Players can enjoy drifting and racing through city environments. It also supports link cable functionality to exchange records with friends. Screenshots display car selection screens and in-race gameplay. This page is all about Game Boy Advance games, kicking off with Monster Farm Mania. It's set on Eiji Island, a new location in the Monster Farm world. We are introduced to the siblings Zest and Aroma, who feature in the game. The page details various locations on Eiji Island like Visley Town, Topoda Mountain, Goldul Town, Promia's area, and Ira Lake. Game details list the title as Monster Farm Mania for the Game Boy Advance, developed by Tecmo, Genre is SLG, and player count is unconfirmed. The page then switches focus to DGI Chariot, Doki Doki Digiko Land. This is also for the Game Boy Advance and is a communication game where you interact with characters like Digiko, Puchiko, and Hikaru. You take on the role of a shop clerk, have conversations, and play minigames. Game information includes the title DGI Chariot, Doki Doki Digiko Land, developer MediaWorks, release date of May 25th, price of 5,300 yen, genre SLG, and 12 players. It also mentions communication cable support and multi-cartridge play. This page is an advertisement for the Dreamcast game Choo Choo Rocket. It highlights that this is the first Sonic Team ACT puzzle. The page emphasizes the game's simple rules and engaging puzzle gameplay, where you guide choo-choos, mice, into your rocket using arrow panels. It mentions that it can be played by one person or multiple players up to 4 in player battle mode, where you compete to guide more choo-choos. The ad also points out the puzzle mode for methodical play and other game modes available. Screenshots showcase gameplay scenarios, including time challenges and competitive multiplayer, illustrating the Choo-Choo Fever and Yokodori Fever events. The game is described as being developed by Sonic Team. The text box in the top right provides game information. Title: Choo Choo Rocket. Publisher: Sega. Release date: March 21st. Price: 4,800 yen. Genre: Dotabata Action Puzzle. Panicked Action Puzzle. Players. Notes: GBA. Dedicated communication cable compatible. 1 cartridge replay compatible. This page is an advertisement for Nintendo strategy guides, highlighting a range of books for different games. It promotes strategy guides for Donkey Kong 64, detailing features like maps, items, and secret techniques, priced at 980 yen. It also advertises strategy guides for Pokemon Stadium Gold and Silver and Pokemon Crystal version, each priced at 980 yen, emphasizing complete guides, including maps, Pokemon information, and events. A popular purchase section lists Mario Tennis for Game Boy and for Nintendo 64, Perfect Dark, Mario Party 3, and Banjo-Tooie, all with their respective prices. Finally, it mentions a strategy guide covering both The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and Oracle of Ages games in one book, scheduled for release on March 23rd. This page is a sticker sheet, volume 55 from Nintendo D-Ream magazine. The stickers feature several game franchises. Firstly, there are stickers for the Game Boy Color game Choi Chai Alien. Next, there are stickers for The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and Oracle of Ages, referred to as The Legend of Zelda, Mysterious Seed, Tree of Fruits, and Tree of Time. There are also stickers featuring Super Mario Advance. Finally, there are Nintendo Dream logo stickers and characters from The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. This page is a fun reader submission section from a Nintendo magazine. It kicks off with comments about Sega stopping Dreamcast production and a funny story about finding a spider inside an N64. There's a section showcasing fan art called Illustrations Corner, featuring a Pokemon card GB2 illustration. My favorite game spotlights reader picks, including Harvest Moon 2, Legend of the Mystical Ninja 2, and Mario Party 3, with little screenshots and comments from players. Another section, Favorite Characters, shows love for Kirby. Finally, it introduces the editorial staff, giving a quick rundown of their roles in creating the magazine. The page feels interactive, encouraging readers to send in their drawings and thoughts. This page presents a manga strip titled Dream Runker by Shigehisa Nakawe. It features Princess Peach in the Mushroom Kingdom, who discovers a beautiful mirror in the castle warehouse. Upon finding it, Peach notices labels on the mirror reading Past, Present, and Future. Initially, she sees her reflection and contemplates if it might be her future self. However, when she attempts to manipulate the mirror, possibly to see a different time, the reflection disappears, startling her, and the mirror falls to the ground. The text at the bottom explains that this is the start of a new story in the manga, continuing from the previous month's issue, where Princess Peach has found a mysterious mirror. It is highlighted that the manga is an original story and may differ from actual game content. This page is a humorous manga strip featuring Mario and Luigi. In the first few panels, Peach is lost and asks where she is. Luigi hits her with a hammer, and then Mario appears, telling Luigi to wait. In the next panels, Mario finds Peach and says he found her, and now it's his turn to be it in a game of tag. Peach is upset because she got lost due to a mirror. She then says she is hungry and wants something to eat. The final panels show them finding a giant peach tree. Mario says the peach tastes so-so. Below the manga, there are some information panels. One panel with 19988, August 1998 issue, discusses racing games, mentioning that you don't know how fast a car is until you race, and that you can get caught up in races. Another panel with 20002, February 2000 issue, talks about magazine name changes and reminisces about the Dream Dranken era. It mentions looking back at past articles and announces that original stories are being serialized monthly since the June 1998 issue and are grateful for the opportunity to create them. It also mentions the art style is quite different now compared to before, with a laugh, and that the initial stories were roughly 3 years prior, starting from the June 1998 issue's linked series, and that they are grateful to receive original stories every month. This page features a comic strip at the top and in the middle, showing Mario, Luigi, and Peach going rafting. In the first panel, Mario asks Luigi what they are doing today, and Mario wants to join in if it's fun. Peach suggests rafting, and Mario seems unsure if it will be fun. They then go rafting and encounter a large piranha plant in the river, causing their raft to crash. Peach ends up safe on a branch, while Mario and Luigi seem to have a less comfortable experience. At the bottom of the page, there are fan art submissions and a section called Illustration Post Corner Introduction. Two fans, Lesser-san and Ruri-san from Saitama Prefecture, and Miurin-san from Shizuoka Prefecture, have sent in drawings of a Shy Guy and Yoshi, with messages to Nakana-sensei encouraging them and saying they are also doing their best. The next page appears to be a manga comic strip featuring Mario and Peach. Peach is worried about going down a waterfall in a barrel, thinking it's dangerous, and telling Mario to hurry to the shore as she has lost the oar. She's concerned about where they are going, and if it's the same mirror they used before. Peach mentions she came to this world from a hole, and wonders if they can return through another hole. They seemingly jump into a mirror portal, with sound effects indicating the action. Later, they are outside a building with a sign that says, Present Kingdom. Someone, possibly Toad, wonders if they are okay. Peach is then depicted thinking that they shouldn't have entered the mirror and that she hasn't thanked Mario properly yet. Finally, a Koopa character is shown in the last panel, stating, "Finally, it's my turn." The text at the bottom hints at the future development of the story involving Mario Brothers and Peach and the fate of Koopa. It mentions that the next adventure involves dark-skinned women and wonders if they will reach the sea. The text also hints at future developments involving Koopa, likely referring to Bowser, and the ocean. The April 2001 GameSoft Fan Club 3 features expanded coverage, renewing the fan section. The first section focuses on Smash Bros. Fan Club, expressing anticipation for a Game Boy Advance version, with fan ideas for gameplay including training and RPG elements. The Star Fox Fan Club celebrates the Super Famicom version's 8th anniversary, highlighting fan efforts to clear the game and looking forward to new titles, featuring fan art of Star Fox 64 scenes. Pokemon Fan Club anticipates a GBA Pokemon game release, potentially coinciding with the summer movie, showcasing fan-submitted illustrations and suggestions for Pokemon inclusion. Finally, Crystal Stadium and Stadium Trio Taste encourages fans to submit unusual Pokemon illustrations for the Stadium series, highlighting already received Sidon, Rhydon artwork, alongside suggestions for Pokemon characters. The next page features several fan club sections dedicated to different Nintendo games. The first section is for Fire Emblem. It mentions that new screenshots are not available this month, and the release is expected in autumn, expressing hope for a summer release. Fan submissions include drawings of characters, with one mentioning communication cables and playing with friends. The next section is for Ogre Battle. It poses the question, what kind of jobs are there? And expresses anticipation. Fan submissions include character drawings and comments about enjoying the game, with specific mentions of Ogre Battle 64. The Mario Family Fan Club section discusses feedback received by the GameCube committee, focusing on Mario Family content. Fan submissions include character drawings and discussions about new Mario Family characters. Screenshots of Mario and Luigi are also featured. The Zelda 2001 Power-Up Fan Club section addresses the anticipation for the release of Zelda on the Game Boy Color on February 27th. It includes fan drawings and an emergency notice section. There are also fan club opinion box sections. One discusses predictions for the GBA version of Fire Emblem and the theme of difficult jobs. Another asks for opinions on purple hat designs. List of time. Finally, there's a fan club editorial department section requesting feedback on Game Boy Color Zelda software and encouraging readers to send in their thoughts. This page solicits reader contributions for various sections. The Mother Revival Prayer Committee focuses on fan desire for a Mother 3 revival, encouraging fan art. The GameCube Big Prediction Committee discusses the GameCube's potential release, seeking software predictions like new Mario, Metroid, F-Zero, and Zelda titles. A Nintendo homepage Big Introduction highlights fan websites like 64Dream and Booboobie 120% World. A character ranking corner invites submissions, illustrations and text, supporting favorite characters from Nintendo consoles, categorized by appeal. This month's Middle Planting Sensei features a short story and illustration. Finally, the GFC corner is renewed, transitioning with the magazine's name change, requesting clearly labeled submissions with sender information. This page is a goodbye message from 64Dream magazine, reflecting on its 4 years and 7 months of publication. It speaks of a limitless game universe and mentions the year 1996, suggesting this is the end of the magazine as it transitions into something new, referring to it as a curtain call and a step to new life. Goodbye, and thank you 64Dream. Reflects on the Nintendo 64's launch and the magazine's history over 4 years and 7 months. The editorial department began in February 1996, preparing for the N64's June 23, 1996, release at 25,000 yen, succeeding the Super Famicom. Mario 64 was a key launch title. The magazine documented staff members' N64 purchase experiences, revealing where they pre-ordered or acquired the console. The editorial staff's backgrounds are also explored, showing diverse experiences before joining the magazine, from PC magazine work to manga enjoyment. Finally, the magazine included reader interaction through a question box. 64Dream magazine, a publication focused on the Nintendo 64, launched with manga series like Old Man Rokujiro, Go Go, Nintentown 64th Street, and Seishun Gakuen Brand Gumi. Bistro de Rakan was a cooking section, led by Masi and Fukumoto, which was discontinued due to Fukumoto's departure. The editorial department's initial office in the Palace Side building suffered from poor conditions, with staff citing exhaustion and the local Akasaka Hanten Jr. for its Mappo ramen. The magazine's covers were reviewed, with a preference for those with strong color schemes and designs. Staff members shared early tasks, regrets, and a timeline detailing the magazine's creation from February 1996, the naming of the magazine in March 1996, and the official start in June 1996, up to the Nintendo Space World exhibition in November 1996. The magazine faced competition and software shortages, despite the initial success and the popularity of Mario Kart 64. This magazine page from 1997 looks back at the N64, a console experiencing a slow market but sustained by reader support. It highlights Mario Kart 64's popularity and the annoyance of limited save data. Popular reader-submitted content included the humorous Driteku's Palace and manga artist Nakani-sensei's first submission scoop. The page previews upcoming software and mentions celebrity endorsements. Game impressions are shared for JIKU Powerful Pro Yaku 4 and Star Fox 64. New reader-focused sections debuted. 64Dream Impression, discussing the N64's perceived issues, and Game Software Fan Club by Nakane-sensei. Covers from 64Dream magazine showcased key games like Mario Kart 64 and Zelda, Ocarina of Time. The page concludes with a Dream consultation box and reader submissions covering a range of topics. In 1997, 64Dream magazine underwent several changes. The magazine increased in size, starting with the June issue to reduce paper costs and attract more advertisements. The editorial department relocated, anticipating noise issues. Staff engaged in excursions, starting with local trips and expanding to page planning. Several magazine corners concluded, and club activities flourished, including Excursion, Mini 4WD, Null, Getter, and MTG clubs. The overflowing incident log detailed events like staff reshuffles, freelancer changes, E3 coverage, and anniversary celebrations, which included congratulatory messages from Nintendo. A Q&A section explored staff opinions on various game companies' practices. The magazine covers for the latter half of 1997 featured games like Star Fox 64, Yoshi's Story, and The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. 1998 was a pivotal year for Nintendo, marked by the Pokémon craze and the release of The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time on the N64. The magazine highlighted the Pokémon phenomenon, capturing reader interest with party games and reader-submitted content. A new reader corner, Analog Chat, was launched, aiming to foster insightful discussions. The release of Zelda in November was highly anticipated, with staff members detailing their excitement and purchase experiences. The page also presented 64Dream magazine covers from January to June, showcasing various N64 games. Readers shared their most memorable magazine issues in the Dream question box, recalling significant events and features from past issues. This page catalogs articles from 64Dream magazine, organized by year. 1996 articles covered Super Mario 64 and Wave Race 64. 1997 included guides for Wonder Project J2, Mario Kart 64, Diddy Kong Racing, Star Fox 64, and Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. 1998 featured guides for Bomberman Hero, F-Zero X, Star Soldier, Vanishing Earth, Ogre Battle 64, Yoshi's Story, and Bomberman 64. 1999's content included guides for Banjo-Kazooie and The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. 2000 focused on Pokémon Gold and Silver and Dr. Mario 64, while 2001 highlighted Perfect Dark, Sin and Punishment, and the N64 Software Perfect Catalog. Additionally, a 64Dream Scoop case file details behind-the-scenes events from 1998, and the page showcases the magazine covers from July to December 1998, along with editor reflections. This page is reflecting on the year 1999 for N64, which 64Dream magazine considers to be the golden age for the console, a year that started with Zelda and ended with Pokémon. It highlights two main sections. The first section is about the unexpected 3-month continuous appendix, which refers to special bonus content in the magazine for 3 months straight, starting with Zelda content, as the Zelda boom from Ocarina of Time was still ongoing and anticipation was building for Majora's Mask. The second section mentions key game releases of the year, like Super Smash Bros., Pokémon Stadium 2, Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, and Super Robot Spirits. Additionally, the page humorously lists 10 big mistakes of 64Dream, which are essentially anecdotes or memorable incidents that happened at the magazine. These include things like referring to Nintendo as God Nintendo, issues with sales figures for Aerogauge, a story about blue-green rice looking like Bulbasaur from Pokémon, a writer losing a sample ROM on a train, problems with unreadable data, issues with the ending section of Super Mario 64, a phone number mistake, publishing bug exploits, leaking a FAX number, and an incident related to late nights in education. The page also shows cover images of 64Dream magazine from January to June 1999 and a screenshot from Super Smash Bros. This text chronicles the history of 64Dream magazine from 1996 to 2001. In its early years, the magazine covered the Nintendo 64's launch, including interviews with key figures and Space World events. Subsequent years featured interviews with developers like Enix and HAL Laboratory, the 64DD, and E3 coverage. 1999 was a pivotal year, showcasing 64DD updates, Konami features, and anticipation for Space World 99. The year 2000 included interviews with Miyamoto and other developers, anniversary celebrations for Super Smash Bros., and looks at the upcoming GameCube. The final year highlighted the Super Famicom's 10th anniversary and the Game Boy Advance. Anecdotes from 1999 detailed the anticipation for The Legend of Zelda, staff happenings, and the 64DD's troubled launch. Magazine covers from late 1999 featured games like Mario Golf 64 and Donkey Kong 64. This page covers news and announcements related to Nintendo and the gaming industry. It highlights the release of the PlayStation 2 and questions if the hardware will sell well, while noting concerns about sufficient software. The Game Boy Advance launch is announced to be delayed from winter to spring 2001. There's anticipation for a new Zelda game being released sooner than expected, and news of Nintendo partnering with Matsushita with an announcement about Dolphin, which is the codename for the GameCube. The page also features a report on NSW2K, Nintendo Space World 2000, emphasizing the excitement and large crowds. Magazine covers from 64Dream spanning January to June 2000 are displayed, showcasing games like Donkey Kong 64, Pokemon Stadium, Resident Evil 0, Doki Doki Panic, The Legend of Zelda, Star Fox, and Mario Tennis 64. A question box section asks about the best N64 game of the last 5 years. Responses include The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Super Mario 64, mentioned by one person, and Mario Kart 64, mentioned by another. These games are highlighted as favorites and are discussed in terms of their impact and gameplay. This page from 64Dream magazine covers various aspects of the publication and N64 gaming in 2000. It announces Nakane Sensei's move to Tokyo and involvement in GBA content, including Dream Diary. A comic project for rival magazine Nintendo Stadium is also announced, along with strategy guide production. A 64Dream X Nintendo Stadium section features screenshots of popular N64 games. The Goodbye 64DREAM corner chronicles events throughout 2000, including game releases, staff changes, and the announcement of Nakane Sensei's move. Strategy guides were published for Mario Tennis GB and Perfect Dark. Additional sections showcase strategy guides for games like Mario Golf 64 and Majora's Mask, as well as magazine covers. Finally, mini reviews are provided for games like Pilot Wings and Shiren the Wanderer 2, with the latter mentioning the reviewer's struggles and sleep deprivation in producing content. Quote, "This page is a welcome message to the year 2001 from the magazine, which is now transitioning to become Nintendo Dream in May of 2001. They are embracing the new era of Game Boy Advance and GameCube after 4 years and 7 months as 64Dream magazine. The editors, Gorilla and Honda, express their gratitude to the readers for their support and promise to continue creating enjoyable content for the new generation of Nintendo consoles." The page includes a list of anticipated events for 2001, images of the magazine covers from January to May 2001, and a Q&A section where editors share their thoughts on the work of magazine editing and their experiences at 64Dream. This page reflects on the history of 64Dream magazine, later renamed Nintendo Dream. Popular features included the Nintendo official Q&A with Mr. Hongon, known for his "That's not the case" catchphrase, and monthly news, which incorporated reader submissions. Game Street Journal, by Mr. Nagami, provided U.S. game industry insights, noting the evolving gamer demographic. The magazine was also known for its attachments, with a popular initial appendix and a commitment to future supplements. The magazine's future includes a focus on engaging content for all generations of Nintendo fans, from Famicom to N64 and beyond. The editors aim to enhance game introductions with interactive elements, like rankings and message boards. The page concludes with images of past supplements, including Zelda, Ocarina of Time themed appendices, and a strategy guide. This document details various reader sections and supplements from a magazine. Rokutori Entertainment Club, started 1996, features reader submissions, initially named Dory Game Paradise. Go Forth Mario Bodyguard, 1997, showcases reader artwork. Hall of Drill Tech, 1997, shares game techniques from readers. 64 Main Street Shopping Street, 1999, presents game reviews by Endo, while Rokuyan Backstreet Shopping Street, 1999, promotes Endo's N64 website. Dream BBS, 1997, features reader opinions. And Death Hermit Will Teach You, 1997, is a Q&A section. And FC Dream, 2000, caters to Famicom fans, possibly expanding from Dream BBS. Supplements include the N64 Perfect Catalog 1999, NSW 99 Special Editions, posters, calendars, the NSW 2K Handbook, telephone cards, and a Kirby mousepad. This page is a reader submission section titled Readers Goodbye 64Dream, featuring fan art and comments from readers. Many readers are expressing their thanks and farewell to 64Dream magazine. Several games are depicted in the fan art, including Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, Kirby, and Yoshi's Story. Characters like Link, Pikachu, and Marina from Mischief Makers are also drawn. The reader comments express nostalgia and appreciation for the magazine and the N64 era, highlighting fond memories of playing N64 games and reading 64Dream. Games such as F-Zero X, Custom Robo, Diddy Kong Racing, and Sin and Punishment also appear in the fan art, showcasing the breadth of N64 titles enjoyed by readers. This page is the front cover of Nintendo DReam magazine, dated May 2001, celebrating the release of the Game Boy Advance with a special 50-title perfect guide. The cover also features a big prediction about the Nintendo GameCube. The artwork includes characters from The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages, as well as Dragon Quest Monsters 2. Game titles listed on the cover include Super Mario Advance, Power Pro Kun Pocket 3, Golden Sun, Mr. Driller 2, Rockman XE, Mega Man Battle Network, and Bomberman Story, highlighting the 50-title perfect guide for the Game Boy Advance. The magazine is described as a Nintendo hardware and software fan magazine. The next page discusses Sega's entry into the GBA market and Square's hopes to join them, highlighting the turbulent state of the game industry at the time. It covers the news that Sega is withdrawing from hardware, discontinuing Dreamcast production at the end of March. The article talks about Sega's shift to becoming a contents provider for other platforms, including handhelds and mobile phones. It mentions that Sega is releasing popular titles like Virtua Fighter 4 and Space Channel 5 on PS2, and Sonic the Hedgehog on Game Boy Advance. The article also notes that Square is interested in developing for Game Boy Advance. It touches upon the complex relationship between Nintendo and Square, referencing their past collaborations on titles like Mario RPG, but also mentions the deep gulf between them. The article concludes by discussing the impact of these industry shifts on game fans. There are images of the Dreamcast console and controller, and a screenshot of what appears to be a Square RPG game. The Ask Death Hermit Q&A returns this month, featuring the Farewell to Pepperkund. Several reader questions are answered. One clarifies. The GameCube's high-speed port is for a broadband adapter, enabling faster internet compared to modems. Another debunks the idea that 32-bit CPU games are inherently boring, emphasizing that enjoyment comes from creativity, memory, and graphics, noting even older PCs used 32-bit CPUs. The Famicom 3D glasses, designed for 3D gameplay using liquid crystal shutters, are also discussed. Finally, the Q&A addresses battery backup replacements in game cartridges, explaining that while the battery is replaceable, official manufacturer support and likely second-hand store services are long gone due to the age of the cartridges. This 64Dream and Me special section of a Dream BBS page features reader submissions related to the Nintendo 64. The first submission, from Osaka, highlights the comfort provided by Nintendo characters like Mario, Link, and Kirby during lonely times. The second submission, from an anonymous prefecture, discusses the widespread popularity of the N64 and the reader's feeling of isolation, despite being surrounded by people uninterested in gaming. They find solace in the 64Dream magazine. The final submission describes a reader from Kumamoto Prefecture who bought an N64 specifically for Pro Baseball 98. A small box explains that BBS refers to a bulletin board system, similar to an online message board. Readers responded to the magazine's name change to Nintendo Dream. While some, like a reader from Mie Prefecture, expressed continued support, others, such as a reader from Toyama Prefecture, playfully critiqued the nickname Nindori. The editorial team acknowledged the change's influence from Nintendo 64 and overwhelming reader support, expressing gratitude and aiming to fulfill readers' expectations. They highlighted the magazine's role as a companion, mentioning the Ball is Tomodachi forum. Reader feedback also touched on cherishing back issues and appreciating monthly greetings. One reader from Okayama Prefecture expressed nostalgia for 64Dream, but accepted the change. Another from Aichi Prefecture shared how the magazine introduced them to new games, while a reader from Osaka Prefecture found solace in writing to the magazine after a setback. This section concluded with readers welcoming the transition to Nintendo Dream. This page features reader contributions, showcasing engagement with the magazine 64Dream. One reader, Mr. Shimuru Revised Style, shares their history with the magazine, highlighting its value during the N64's decline and their use of it to help with Zelda strategy guides. The reader questionnaire section presents various humorous reader comments. These include anecdotes, comparisons between Rubik's Cubes and game consoles, and collecting cube-related items. Other topics include opinions on drinks, a reader asking if they should buy Rokudori, and a postcard message using the same term. Reader submissions also touch on DVDs, the movie Body Snatcher, and a humorous request for advice about wild ducks. The page concludes with a message from the administrator announcing a BBS administration change and providing contact information for the editorial department. This page focuses on a price survey of N64 games in Akihabara. It notes that prices haven't changed much recently, unlike the previous month, specifically mentioning Pokemon Stadium 2 and Mickey's Speedway USA as games of interest in terms of pricing, noting Mickey's Speedway USA is surprisingly cheap at 5,180 yen. The article observes that new N64 titles are becoming scarce, and it feels like the N64 era is coming to an end, especially with the Game Boy Advance launch on March 21st, which is expected to impact the N64 market. The page also includes a table listing a wide variety of N64 games available in Akihabara, with their genres, regular prices, Akihabara prices, release dates, publishers, and details about player count, CPU compatibility, vibration support, and other features. Some of the games listed include titles like Castlevania, Dracula Sosetsushu, Castlevania, Legacy of Darkness, Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, Worms Armageddon, Star Soldier, Vanishing Earth, F-Zero X, Wave Race 64, Blast Corps, and various sports titles. In the lower section, there's an announcement about Game Boy Advance reservations starting in February at retailers such as Ito-Yokado, Lawson, and Toys R Us. It mentions the GBA release date is March 21st and advises that for those who cannot pre-order, Akihabara game shops may have stock on the release day, although availability might be uncertain. This page showcases Akihabara GB software prices but focuses on N64 games. It's a price list of Nintendo 64 software available in Akihabara. Many well-known titles are featured, like Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, Star Wars, Rogue Squadron, Star Fox 64, Snowboard Kids, Super Mario 64, Zelda games such as Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and many other games across various genres including racing, sports, puzzle, RPG, and action titles. The list also includes games like Pokemon Stadium, Mario Kart 64, and Donkey Kong 64. It appears to be showing the regular price and the Akihabara price for each game, along with other details such as release date and publisher. It also includes columns indicating player number, controller pack use, rumble pack compatibility, and battery backup. This page presents a Nintendo Power GB cartridge rewrite software list. It showcases a wide variety of Game Boy titles available for rewriting onto cartridges using the service. Some of the games featured include entries from the Game Boy Gallery series, Super Mario Land DX, Kirby's Block Ball, Super Donkey Kong GB, Super Mario Land 2, the Donkey Kong Land series, Kirby's Dream Land 2, Street Fighter 2, Metroid 2, Kirby's Star Stacker, Balloon Fight GB, Bomberman GB games, Mega Man or Rockman World Series, and Tetris. Screenshots from the Game Boy Gallery games illustrate the old-style and modern-style graphics. The page explains that this service allows users to update their Game Boy cartridges with new game software. This page is a hot-blooded interview with Tanaka Hirosuke, who is the creator of the game Chichoi Alien, which translates to Tiny Tiny Alien. The interview focuses on this new game, describing it as a fun experience that's easy to understand, but also a bit unusual. The page also features character artwork from Chichoi Alien, showcasing the various small alien creatures. Tanaka Hirosuke's profile details his background, mentioning he was born in 1957 and joined Nintendo. He worked on arcade games, Game & Watch, and Sound, and was involved in the development of titles such as Dr. Mario, the Mother series, Mario Paint, and Pocket Camera. He left Nintendo in 1999 and is currently involved in creating characters, game development, and composing music for the Pokemon anime. He is described as around 43 years old with blood type A, and his favorite Chichoi Alien is Hehe. The interview overall aims to introduce and promote the new and unique game Chichoi Alien. Chakawi Irien, Tiny Alien, is a Game Boy Color game where players hunt alien creatures using a light source and vacuum them up. Released in Japan by Creatures Inc., the game involves 4 steps: aiming with light via the Game Boy Color's infrared port, vacuuming up the aliens, collecting Susu, dark matter, left behind, and returning the Susu to space. A bundled spectrum communicator peripheral helps with light aiming and alien trading. Players use different pheromones, such as Tonkotsu pheromone, Haku pheromone, and foot pheromone, to attract various alien types. The core gameplay loop centers around collecting and sending dark matter, Susu, back to space, suggesting a connection between the aliens and the cosmos. Chochai Alien for Game Boy Color is a quirky space rescue game where players collect aliens using light, leveraging the console's infrared communication feature. Reviewers praise the game's innovative use of the infrared, with gameplay involving minigames like pig fishing and light beam attack. The review features comments from Sato Tsushin, Furio no Yodere, Autoban, and Ero Ichi, all finding the game enjoyable and fun, with Sato Tsushin highlighting its thought-provoking nature. An interview with Tanaka Hiromazu, born in 1957, further explores the game's concept. Overall, the review is positive, emphasizing the game's unique gameplay and its effective use of the Game Boy Color's features. This page details the Nintendo 64 game, Chochai Alien, which debuted at the Next Generation World Hobby Fair in Tokyo. The game, popular with young girls, allowed players to catch Chochai aliens. An interview with developer Tanaka reveals the game's concept originated much earlier, with notes on alien characters and talking aliens dating back to 1997. The core mechanic of collecting light was developed later. The game's music was composed by Tanaka. The team aimed to create a game appealing to a different audience, particularly young girls. The page highlights the game's TV commercial and includes the lyrics to the catchy Chochai Alien song. A humorous section reveals Tanaka's brainstorming process, using keywords like macaroni and meat juice to inspire visual ideas. The title changed from Alien to Chochai Alien to emphasize the character's small size. The page includes screenshots and a photo of Tanaka with promotional material. Quote, "This page is an interview with Hirokazu Tanaka, the creator of Chao Yan. It's mentioned that Chao Yan is the first original software title from Creatures." The interview discusses the development process, revealing concept sketches of alien characters labeled Pocket Alien, and food items like a choco bowl and bread. Tanaka mentions that the initial idea for Chao Yan came to him while he was creating music for Pokemon. The interview touches on the challenges of balancing software and hardware development, especially at Nintendo. There is also a group photo of the development team celebrating the completion of the game. The article mentions that Chao Yan was intended to use infrared communication and be compatible with the Game Boy Color, but this functionality may not have been fully realized. Tanaka describes his role in the development as being like an Oba-chan, a kind of motherly figure overseeing things. This page is an interview called the 64Dream Final Interview, focusing on the game Chali Rian, which seems to be a unique and unconventional N64 title. The interview discusses the game's concept, with the developer describing it as a new type of game that isn't easily categorized, comparing it to a collage of ideas and sampling various inspirations. The developer mentions aiming to create something intuitive and enjoyable for both experienced players and newcomers. They talk about the game being designed around communication and creating a unique world, moving away from just high scores and focusing on a different kind of fun. There's a screenshot showing gameplay of Chali Rian, which features aliens in a grid-based environment. The interview also touches upon the development process, mentioning the team's approach to creating something original without relying on established templates, emphasizing intuition and sampling ideas to build the game. The game is described as not being a typical game-like game in various senses. The interview also mentions the visual, sound, and text elements of the game being deliberately chosen to enhance the user experience. The developer highlights the direct and blunt nature of the text in the game and emphasizes that it was designed with text being a core element to engage the player. The game is described as From an Alien's Message, where you input phone numbers via the D-pad within a time limit to communicate with aliens. This page features an interview with Hirokazu Tanaka, focusing on the game Sound Voyager. Tanaka discusses the game's simple concept, where you can only answer yes or no to questions. He mentions that younger staff initially thought it wouldn't be a proper game due to its simplicity, but he persevered. The interview also touches upon the idea of no future, which is central to the game's concept and the reaction it gets from players in game show-like settings. Tanaka talks about how Sound Voyager and Pocket Camera were created, emphasizing the importance of originality over complex gameplay. He also discusses his approach to game creation, comparing it to composing music, aiming to evoke feelings and reactions from players when they experience the game's ending. There's also a 64Dream Scoop exam section, which is a quiz format asking Tanaka about his gaming preferences with yes/no answers. Questions range from favorite game console being the Game Boy, enjoying being alone, preferring Tokyo to Kyoto, and wanting to make something with the GameCube. Finally, There is a photograph of Tanaka Hirokazu and a screenshot of the game Chai Rion itself, showing a very basic interface with minimal graphics. This page features an interview with Tanaka-san, delving into their childhood and career path leading to Nintendo. The interview is titled, Childhood Era, Approaching the Roots of Nintendo, and Approaching Tanaka-san's Roots. The first section explores Tanaka-san's childhood love of records, ranging from military songs to classical music. They enjoyed sonosheet records and listened to classical records at home. Tanaka-san experimented with record players, even creating sound effects by manipulating the needle. They recall listening to records with friends, focusing on the sound quality. The second section covers Tanaka-san's entry into Nintendo and immediate involvement in game development. They mention joining Nintendo by chance and initially working in television production. Tanaka-san describes their early work on games like Space Firebird, 1980, and designing sound effects using devices like the Polymoog. They discuss the early development environment at Nintendo, with a small team and a focus on hardware. Miyamoto-san is mentioned as being part of the amateur group at the time. Images on the page include record covers such as Italian Interlude, Monkeys, and XMAN Fever. The game Mother 2, Earthbound Outside of Japan, is prominently displayed. Other images feature characters and screenshots related to Osomatsu-kun, Ultra Q, and Pac-Man. A question mark image is also shown alongside text mentioning Super Mario Bros. And Famicom sound sources, suggesting a discussion about retro game sounds. This page is a long interview with Hirokazu Tanaka, a key figure at Nintendo known for his sound and music work on many classic games. The interview highlights his musical journey and influences, notably reggae and dub music, and his approach to game sound design. He mentions that working with Shigeru Miyamoto and Shigesato Itoi on the Mother series was a significant experience for him. Tanaka's Nintendo works are listed, spanning arcade games like Donkey Kong and Mario Bros., Game & Watch titles, and numerous Famicom and Game Boy games. Some notable games mentioned in the list are Metroid, Balloon Fight, Dr. Mario, and Super Mario Land. He discusses his involvement with the Mother series, including the cancelled N64 version of Mother 3, for which he was set to compose music. The page also features images of the Mother 3 logo, showcasing the game that was unfortunately halted in development for the N64. Additionally, there's a section called Collection, featuring images of old Nintendo toys from the 1970s like the Elikonga and Love Tester, which were early products created before video games became their main focus. Tanaka is pictured holding one of these retro toys. He expresses that he would like to make a new original game for the Game Boy Advance and is considering ideas for the GameCube. This page is from the Nintendo official Q&A section of the magazine, specifically issue 55. It addresses reader questions. One question is about the Next Generation World Hobby Fair, and the reader asks about crowd control measures at the Osaka Dome event held on January 28. The response mentions that there were indeed entry restrictions due to the large crowds, causing waiting times of 23 hours. Despite this, the event was considered a success by the organizers. Nintendo's showcase games were Mini Tycoon, Mario Party 3, and Custom Robo V2, alongside the mobile adapter GB, which garnered significant interest from visitors curious about connecting their Game Boys. The mobile adapter GB was primarily sold at Toys R Us and mobile phone stores. The page also features a character profile for Daisy, identifying her English name as Daisy. It mentions her debut in Super Mario Land on the Game Boy in 1989, where she was kidnapped by aliens. She later made a grand comeback in Mario Open Tennis on the Nintendo 64 in 2000. It's noted that Daisy was named by Nintendo staff, but the reason for the name is unknown. Nintendo addressed customer inquiries in a Q&A. Regarding the mobile adapter GB, the company ran its first newspaper ad since a Zelda campaign 2 years prior. A handheld Game Boy was deemed too expensive to produce, with estimated costs of 30,000 to 40,000 yen, advising consumers to use the mobile adapter GB instead. Nintendo confirmed its participation in the Tokyo Game Show, planning a Game Machine Corner, and collaborating with third-party developers. Pre-ordering is the only way to secure a GB Advance. Finally, Nintendo plans to expand the GB Advance color variations, with Violet announced as the first, echoing the GameCube's color scheme. Further details would be available in a future issue. This page is an Ask Nintendo section, focusing on Game Boy Advance software. It confirms that a Pokémon game is in development for the Game Boy Advance, though details on compatibility with previous Pokemon RPGs are still unknown. It clarifies that Mario Kart Advance was never intended for simultaneous release, and highlights the anticipation for it, referencing the popularity of Mario Kart 64. The page also reveals that Yoichi Kotabe from Nintendo, known for his work on anime and Super Mario illustrations and Pokemon anime supervision, illustrated the character for Kuru Kuru Kururin. Regarding Game Boy Advance commercials, the direction has shifted from individual commercials to a unified image targeting a broad age range, starting around February 21st when the last issue of 64Dream is released. Finally, it's confirmed that Brownie Brown, the developers behind the Sword of Mana series, is creating Magical Vacation, a summer magic school RPG for the Game Boy Advance, with its release date yet to be decided. The page features screenshots from Mario Kart Advance and Magical Vacation, and images of Pikachu and the duck character from Kuru Kuru Kurin. This page is a question and answer section about Nintendo 64 games. Question 12 asks if players should be excited for Dubutsu no Mori, Animal Crossing, and the answer is a resounding yes, emphasizing the game's focus on communication with family and friends, and introducing the controller pack bundle and gameplay elements like building a house and meeting animals. Question 13 asks about Dinosaur Planet, and the answer states that detailed information is unavailable due to it being a rare software title, suggesting uncertainty about its release as an N64 game due to external sources indicating it might not be. Question 14 is about Tsumi Tabatsu, Hoshi no Keishusha, Sin and Punishment, and the answer clarifies that there are no plans for an overseas release despite interest from American affiliates, and official shipment numbers are not disclosed. Question 15 asks about Banjo-Kazooie 3, and the answer states that, as it is also a rare software, its release status is unclear, but speculates it might be a last-minute release. Question 16 addresses the fate of canceled software, responding that it is case by case. It explains that projects might be reworked for new hardware like the GameCube, or elements reused in other software, ensuring that development knowledge and experience gained are not wasted and contribute to future software creation. This page is a Q&A section from a magazine, answering reader questions about Nintendo games. Question 17 asks about the story of Zelda DD, which is clarified to have the same story as The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, but with different dungeons and puzzles. Question 18 asks about the A-memory of the GameCube, which is explained as memory used for audio and video to enhance game presentation, similar to how the memory expansion pack allowed for more enemies in Ocarina of Time. Question 19 asks if there's confidence in the GameCube's success, and the answer emphasizes the determination of developers, stating that the GameCube's success is crucial for the future of home consoles in general. Finally, question 20 is about Pikachu appearing in a UNICEF commercial, which is confirmed, noting that UNICEF requested Pokemon due to its child-friendly image, but the campaign concluded last year. There are screenshots related to Ocarina of Time, a generic GameCube game image, and a UNICEF Pikachu advertisement. This Nintendo Q&A addresses 3 questions. Question 21 explains why a Zelda anime is unlikely. The visual impact could limit game developers and potentially alienate fans if it deviates from the established image. Question 22 discusses how to emulate Shigeru Miyamoto, concluding it's impossible to be him, but encouraging aspiring creators to find their unique vision and consider audience reception. Question 23 answers that Nintendo is in its 112th year, founded in 1889. It also provides historical details about Nintendo's Kyoto headquarters, including a description of the original building, located near Kyoto Station. The article encourages readers to submit questions for future editions. Quote, Sega announced it would cease Dreamcast hardware production in March, as reported on January 24th, but will continue as a software developer for other consoles. This news caused Sega's stock to increase. They plan to create games for Game Boy Advance, GameCube, and existing consoles. The article highlights Sega's rivals, including Nintendo and others, and suggests Sega's shift could revitalize the industry. 3 new Game Boy Advance titles were announced: Choo Choo Rocket, March 21st, Puyo Puyo, Summer, and Sonic the Hedgehog Advance, Autumn. The article also contrasts Sega's confirmed GBA entry with Square, who may also enter the GBA market, but are more heavily reliant on Nintendo. This page features a roundup of news and game previews. Firstly, the Mario Club, Nintendo's software evaluation team, recommends Samurai Kid for the Game Boy Color, describing it as an action puzzle game where you play as Homura Maru battling monsters. In a homepage news section, screenshots of Dr. Mario 64 have been discovered, prompting the question of a Japanese release for this N64 puzzle game that supports up to 4 players. The page also reports on strong pre-orders for the Game Boy Advance, reaching 2.7 million units, and Nintendo planning to release 4 software titles alongside it. Finally, the 5th Japan Game Awards nominations are announced, with The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask for Nintendo 64 being nominated for the Grand Prize and Minister of Education Award, and The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time for Department Awards in Game Design and Scenario. Other nominated titles include High-Speed Mobile Core Ganbar, March, Dragon Quest V-2, Final Fantasy IX, and Phantasy Star Online for PlayStation and Dreamcast. In another news section, it's reported that Nintendo's new president held a press conference on January 29th, highlighting the significant pre-orders for the Game Boy Advance. This page highlights strategy guides for Nintendo 64 games from 64Dream magazine. It mentions that 64Dream and Nintendo collaborated to create these strategy guides, which are identifiable by a specific mark. Featured are guides for Pokémon Stadium Gold and Silver and Donkey Kong 2001, which is likely referring to Donkey Kong 64. The page details features of the strategy guides. For Pokémon Stadium, it highlights a Pokémon encyclopedia to understand Pokémon types, and a National Trainer Encyclopedia to learn about trainers and strategies from the National Pokémon League. For Donkey Kong 64, the guide boasts an easy-to-read map layout and includes hidden techniques from older Donkey Kong titles. In news, Dragon Quest Monsters 2 for Game Boy is announced as being available at convenience stores with a special DigiCube card set promotion. Also announced is the distribution schedule for Pokémon Stadium Gold and Silver Mobile Stadium Battle data, with a table showing dates and times for receiving this data. Finally, Chunsoft's homepage is promoting secret incantations for the Japanese exclusive N64 game Sound of Wind Shiren 2, offering items and mini information on their website. There is also a manga section titled Misuzu's Cosplay Plaza, featuring a character and dialogue about cosplay. This monthly report details a Q&A with Nintendo developers about the Game Boy Advance's development. The process began around 1994. Initially exploring color options for the Game Boy. The reflective LCD technology from Sharp in 1997 was key, leading to the Game Boy Color. The GBA's horizontal design was chosen to differentiate it from competitors, maximize screen size, and improve button placement. The team aimed for comfortable playability while balancing portability. Significant system-level challenges included creating a cost-effective, low-power core IC. The solution was integrating everything into a single chip, including both a 32-bit and an 8-bit CPU for backward compatibility, and utilizing 2 megabits of memory across 2 chips. Software developers contributed to these cost and power-saving initiatives. This text explores the Game Boy Advance, GBA, through an interview format, covering technical and design aspects. The GBA's communication cable, supporting up to 4 players, faced speed limitations due to EMI and memory allocation. Designers prioritized a distinct, yet recognizable Nintendo aesthetic, balancing user appeal with production costs with external design assistance. Speaker and button placement were refined for optimal gameplay. Future expandability via an expansion port was a key consideration, enabling features beyond cable communication, with potential for high-speed data transfer. While the GBA offered improved contrast, the brightness difference from the GBC was subtle. The initial color choices, including violet to connect with the GameCube and silver for a metallic feel, were influenced by both internal designers and external consultants. The text concludes with a nostalgic reflection on a visit to the former Nintendo headquarters. This page delves into the design and features of the Game Boy Advance, GBA. It highlights the GBA's capability to play Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, showing how these older titles appear on the GBA's horizontal screen. A screenshot of a Zelda game is visible, demonstrating backward compatibility. The article includes an interview with developers discussing design choices, such as battery placement for balance and the unique cartridge slot that accommodates both GBA and older Game Boy cartridges. The developers mention their focus on creating a new product identity for GBA compared to previous Game Boys, aiming for a more mature and sophisticated feel in its design and color choices. They also discussed the design considerations for the cartridge slot and battery, aiming for user convenience and a unique mechanism for cartridge switching. The next page is a preview for the Game Boy Color game, Pokémon Card GB2 GR Dan Sanju, which was scheduled for release in Japan in March. This sequel to Pokemon Card GB features an expanded game system with more cards and opponents, now totaling 445 cards, twice the amount of the previous game. The game's story revolves around the player, who is a legendary Pokemon card player, facing off against the newly emerged Great Rocket Dan. Team Great Rocket, likely a localized name for Team Rocket. The page highlights features designed for beginners, such as a training gym to learn the rules, and mentions Dr. Uyama, who provides deck diagnosis. The Game Center allows players to collect cards by winning against in-game opponents. Features like Masaki's PC and Black Box for card management, and Card Pawn for card exchange are also introduced. Screenshots illustrate gameplay elements like card battles, menu screens, and map exploration. The page emphasizes the fun and depth of card battles within the game and the compelling storyline. This page unveils a Game Boy Color card game, currently known by the temporary title DT. Developed by Media Factory and slated for release in the spring, this game is a card-based battle experience featuring around 200 unique cards. Each card is steeped in detailed lore, and as you collect and read them, the game world unfolds. The narrative centers around DT, incredibly small robots capable of enhancing humans and even creating artificial life. Players step into the shoes of DT masters, engaging in battles against rivals using decks constructed from cards representing DT units and their abilities. The game offers 4 distinct modes: Story, Hypertext, which seems to be focused on reading in-depth card lore, Battle, and Workshop for deck customization and purchasing card packs. The card battle system involves building a 40-card deck and strategically managing CP during matches. The ultimate goal is to amass a collection of powerful cards and become a formidable DT master. This title appears to be a Japanly release for the Game Boy Color, emphasizing a rich backstory and strategic card gameplay. This page covers 2 Game Boy Color titles. Firstly, it previews Hamtaro, Ham Hams Unite, an adventure game where Hamtaro must gather 12 Hamchans who are playing in various locations to bring them back to the underground house, teaching them a keyword along the way. Secondly, it introduces Metabots 4, Kabuto version and Kuwagata version, an RPG that boasts a new library function enabling players to easily check the abilities of Metabots and parts they've acquired. The game also features mini-games and focuses on popular Metarot characters from previous titles. This page is about Pocket King, Game Boy Wars, Pocket Tactics, and Golfland for the Game Boy Color. Pocket King details unit class changes when units reach level 10, allowing players to customize units with different abilities using items acquired in battles and towns. It mentions various classes, including Fighter, which can change to Battler, Warrior, Soldier, or Archer, and further class changes to Barbarian, Thief, Knight, or Amazoness when attack or movement stats reach certain levels. Game Boy Wars Pocket Tactics discusses the importance of communication in modern warfare within the game, highlighting the Wars Network service. It mentions accessing network services for map downloads and unit updates. Golfland focuses on mobile golf gaming experiences, mentioning Mario Golf 64 and Mario Tennis 64 as predecessors. It describes how connecting a mobile adapter GB enhances the game, offering features like network clubhouse access and competition modes. This page is showcasing 4 Game Boy Color titles. First up is Dance Dance Revolution GB Disney Mix, featuring popular Disney characters. You can dance with Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy to your favorite tunes, using finger controls similar to the arcade version. It seems there's a Minnie's Room feature, and it also includes songs from Dance Dance Revolution 4th Mix. Next is Net to Get Minigame at 100, a collection of 15 minigames you can play anywhere, anytime. You can also download new games using a mobile adapter. Then there's Woody Woodpecker's Go-Go Racing, a racing game starring the classic cartoon character. It's described as easy to play with cute graphics and suitable for a wide range of players. Finally, Kinnikubanten GB3 Shin Sedai Survival Retsuden lets you play as contestants from the popular TV show Sasuke, Ninja Warrior. This version, GB3, is based on the 2000 TV series and features minigames and characters familiar to fans. This page introduces 3 upcoming Game Boy Color games. First up is Street Fighter Alpha, a Capcom fighting game bringing together a roster of classic characters like Ryu, Ken, and Chun-Li. Gameplay emphasizes button presses for varied attacks and includes super combos and alpha counters, drawing from the Street Zero series. There are 10 playable fighters, including characters from the Final Fight series like Rose, and international versions like Sodom and Charlie. The second game is Oidio Rascal, based on the anime Rascal the Raccoon. Players take on the role of Sterling and spend a year raising Rascal, teaching him skills, and enjoying minigames, including panel puzzles where you earn items. Finally, there's DX Jinsey Game, a board game for up to 4 players. This game features various life events and aims for players to become the wealthiest by the end. It includes new elements and minigames, such as panel puzzles, and utilizes a roulette and card system to progress on a map. The next page showcases a trio of Game Boy Color titles. First up is Doraemon, Kimi to Petto no Monogatari, an RPG where you embark on a grand adventure to find a lost pet. It's based on the popular Doraemon series, letting you explore the Doraemon world and build friendships to overcome challenges. You can choose to play as either a boy or a girl protagonist, and each offers a slightly different story experience. Next, there's the Black Onyx, another RPG. This one seems to be a revival of a classic, letting you play in either Legacy Mode, which recreates the original Famicom game's look, or Legend Mode, featuring updated graphics and scenarios. Finally, for the girls out there, we have Rurichan no Osher na 11 Kagetsu, a simulation game. You play as Rurichan, a high school student in her final year, and the game focuses on fashion, friendships, and finding your path after graduation. You'll collect clothes, hang out with friends, maybe find a boyfriend, and figure out your future in the 11 months leading up to graduation. It's described as the second in the fashionable story series. Also mentioned in relation to the Doraemon game is a trading card feature. You can collect cards of characters and secret gadgets within the game, and the available cards might vary depending on whether you play as a boy or girl. You can even trade these cards with friends using a link cable. This 64Dream magazine page features the final Go Mario Boss Core fan art section, transitioning to Nindori with the same content style. It showcases the Illustrations Special Hall of Fame, highlighting diverse fan art. The artworks include a poignant scene of motherhood, Mario with a GameCube, a warm Yoshi's Island snowy scene, and a nostalgic Animal Crossing winter setting. Other pieces depict Asuka from Shiren the Wanderer 2, Link with a girl, a Shy Guy Bowser-inspired illustration from Mario Party 3, and a Dragon Quest Monsters 2 image. The page concludes with an impressive artwork of fierce deity Link from The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, referencing his connection to Majora's Mask. This page features fan-submitted illustrations, categorized as Illustration Fan Letter and Illustrations by Children 10 years old and under. The Illustration Fan Letter section showcases art inspired by games like Sin and Punishment, Mega Man, The Legend of Zelda, Pokemon Gold/Silver/Crystal, and Mystical Ninja. The Illustrations by Children 10 years old and under section includes drawings of Mario Story/Paper Mario, Kirby, Totoko, Hamtaro/Hamtaro, Waluigi, and Pokemon. One piece references Mario 3, and another, potentially Pokemon Stadium 64. Fan letters and editorial comments praise the artist's skills, encourage them to continue creating, and invite submissions, specifically, of Link from The Legend of Zelda. Reader submissions for the Favorite Character, Part 3, theme, showcase a wide range of games. The Legend of Zelda is heavily featured, with multiple submissions referencing Ocarina of Time and specific character preferences. Other popular franchises include Super Smash Bros., Link, Kirby, Pikachu and Ness, Goemon, Sin and Punishment, Star Fox 64, Star Wolf, and Dragon Quest V, Flora and Monsters. Notably, many submissions come from specific prefectures in Japan, indicating a strong local engagement. Some submissions explore other games, such as Grandia and Puyo Puyo. One submission playfully acknowledges Mario's popularity, and another alludes to the use of stolen art supplies. The upcoming themes will be Advance and N64 No 1. 4-Panel Comic Tenements presents humorous comics about Nintendo 64 games, submitted by readers. The comics cover a range of scenarios, including Link and Navi receiving mail, romantic encounters, Mario and Luigi in a spooky house, Earthbound/Mother 2 battles, kids playing games, Mario using a coin as a phone, Link hiding from a moblin, and moments of in-game inactivity. Comparisons between Zelda and Metroid gameplay and kids' role-playing game characters are also featured. Additionally, the page includes information regarding Game Boy Advance, GBA, color variations, with Yamauchi Violet at 64%, and mentions of the 64DD Talent Studio, with hopes for future releases. This page showcases fan-submitted illustrations related to N64 games. titled Illustrations Super High-Rise Condominium. Many of the illustrations are based on the Legend of Zelda series. One illustration depicts Link and Sakuria in a scene where Sakuria is perhaps playfully bothering a sleeping Link. Another Zelda-themed artwork shows Link and Zelda in a chibi style, possibly inspired by Game Boy-era illustrations. There's also fan art of Donkey Kong from the Donkey Kong 64 game, and another featuring the Starwolf team from Star Fox 64. Some other illustrations appear to be based on different games, possibly Tactics Ogre, and one that looks like Metroid, with Samus Aran. Each illustration includes a short comment from the artist and their location in Japan. The page seems to be celebrating fan creativity around N64 games. This page showcases a collection of fan-submitted illustrations under the title Illustration Super High-Rise Mixed Building. Many of the artworks are inspired by video games, particularly from Nintendo franchises. Several illustrations feature characters and themes from the Legend of Zelda series, including Zora Link and Deku Link from Majora's Mask, Princess Zelda from Ocarina of Time, and general references to Link and Zelda. One artist even combines Zelda with manga characters, including a slime from Dragon Quest and Mario. Other Nintendo games are also represented, such as Kirby, depicted humorously being cooked, and Star Fox, with illustrations of anthropomorphic animal characters in suits and a mention of Falco. Super Smash Bros. Is referenced with a drawing of the characters being intimidating when angry. Ogre Battle 64. Person of Lordly Caliber is mentioned in two illustrations, with one featuring a character named Leia from the game. There is also a reference to Devil Children, with an illustration of Jack Frost. Some illustrations are less directly game-related, featuring anime-style characters, fantasy themes, or general cute characters, although a few still include game references, such as Luigi being scared in two different drawings. One artwork seems inspired by Alice in Wonderland in a 4-Trump Collection 64Dream style, while another features a Pokemon character, Greninja. This page is dedicated to fan-submitted illustrations centered around Nintendo characters, particularly from the Mario series. It features a section titled Super Mario Parent/Guardian Squad, showcasing various Mario-themed drawings. There is a collaborative art piece called Cooperation Kokoro, and another section, Kira People, which highlights a quirky illustration of Princess Peach. Other games referenced through fan art include Tactics, Ogre, and The Legend of Zelda. The page also includes a monthly Ranking Invaders section, listing contributors' names across various ranks, possibly recognizing participants or highlighting noteworthy submissions. Finally, there is an illustration recruitment section, providing guidelines for readers to submit their own artwork to the magazine. This page is all about Mickey's Speedway USA and delves into the hidden elements of the game. It reveals unlockable characters and special item locations. For hidden characters, it details how to unlock Dewey and Louie. To get Dewey, you need to win all amateur levels in the Traffic, Motorway, and Freeway series. For Louie, it's the semi-pro levels in the same series. The page also explains how to unlock the Victory series and the Final series. To access the Victory series, you must win all professional levels in the Traffic, Motorway, and Freeway series. The Final series unlocks by finding 4 hidden parts scattered across the Indianapolis, Philadelphia, Chicago, and Malibu courses. The locations of these parts are described with screenshots and text hints. Indianapolis. After exiting the tunnel, immediately to the right, there's a small hole in the wall containing the part. Philadelphia. The part is hidden inside the ship near the goal, specifically behind the antenna on the right side of the ship. Chicago. The part is located within a tunnel-like structure on the shortcut course. Malibu. The part is found on the shortcut course, dropped between the rocks right after the start. This page provides tips and tricks for various Nintendo 64 and Game Boy Color games. The top section focuses on Custom Robo V2, guiding players on how to find hidden Holosseums. It explains that in free battle mode, some Holosseums are marked with, quote, indicating hidden locations. The guide then shows screenshots and provides clues for finding 3 specific Holosseums. Sandan Desu, which is found behind the clock tower in Futaba, Gigantic, at Marine Park Festival, by talking to a girl near a building, and Plain, at Gorias' mansion, by speaking to a hidden person near a building without entering the mansion. The middle section is for Perfect Dark. It reveals a hidden spot in the combat simulator stage, Mindspace. It describes a yellow pipe next to the lift platform that players can climb to reach a hidden location. The final section is for a Game Boy Color game called Mobile Phone Telefang. This part is titled Hidden Mobile Phone Number, Part 2, and provides a phone number to call to obtain Kaya, Explosion Denju. The article states that you need to use a mobile phone and input the given number using the select button to get this character. The provided phone number is 056 number 247,219. This page is celebrating the 15th anniversary of the Famicom Disk System, highlighting its release in 1986, and features such as the affordable 500 yen price for games, rewritable discs, and large data capacity. The article mentions classic titles that utilize the system like The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario, Metroid, and Castlevania. The page also has a section called This Month I'll Buy This, which recommends games to be released by March 21st. For Game Boy Advance, it highlights F-Zero for its anticipated Versus mode, Mystery Labyrinth 2, Kuru Kuru Kururin, and Bomb Dodgeball Fighters, making a total of 4 games. It also recommends The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages for Game Boy Color, noting the high difficulty but strong Zelda essence in these titles, encouraging readers to purchase both. It also mentions the Game Boy Advance body is expected to be white. Lastly, there's a section titled Shopping Street Chairman's Words, which discusses the completion of Virtual Boy software, mentioning there are only 19 Virtual Boy titles in total, and advises readers to treasure the later released games because of their limited production numbers. This retro game encyclopedia entry reviews The Legend of Zelda for the Famicom. The game, a masterpiece released on the Famicom Disk System, features a vast overworld and challenging dungeons. The story follows Link's quest to collect the 8 pieces of the Triforce of Wisdom, scattered by Princess Zelda, to prevent the evil Ganon from claiming it and conquering Hyrule. Players explore a 16-screen overworld with various locations, and navigate labyrinthine dungeons filled with puzzles, enemies, and bosses. Defeating dungeon bosses rewards Triforce pieces, leading towards the final confrontation with Ganon on Death Mountain. Upon completing the game, players can unlock a second quest with remixed dungeons and increased difficulty by entering Zelda at the name registration screen. Screenshots showcase gameplay elements from both the overworld and dungeons, as well as the name entry screen for the secret quest. This page reflects on the memories of the N64 era. It mentions that this year is Mario's 20th birthday, and this issue will be a retrospective. The magazine title is changing to Nintendo Dream from the next issue. The article highlights Super Mario 64 as a pivotal title that defined the 3D action genre on the N64, noting its innovative gameplay and the freedom of exploring a 3D world. It also recalls GoldenEye 007 as a massive hit overseas, praising its large-scale spy action. Another game mentioned is Star Fox 64, released in 1997, alongside GoldenEye 007. The article notes that software prices were decreasing at this time, making it easier to buy new games, and that 4-player battles became a popular feature. It also points out that many games were released around this period, and this era was when information about The Legend of Zelda started to emerge. Wonder Project J2 is also featured, noted as a title from Enix. The article mentions being excited for its release and eagerly playing it on TV. It's described as a unique game, unusual for the shooting genre, but unexpectedly popular with female fans. The text mentions that the writer became involved in illustration work for Nintendo Dream around 1997 after being a reader and contributor. This page highlights 2 games and features a 3D art viewing guide. The first game, seemingly Zelda, Ocarina of Time, is showcased in a section titled Hyrule Field, posing the question of whether it is the best 3D action-adventure game. Next is a preview of a game referred to as DT Provisional in a segment called Gashoka's Mini Collectibles. This section emphasizes the game's vast world, integration of card game elements, and a story described as quite grotesque, which is seen as appealing to fans of Gashoka. The article mentions aiming to become a DT master within the game, and the need for a dedicated device to achieve this. The page also includes instructions on how to enjoy 3D art, explaining how to view the paired images to experience a 3D effect, and mentions that the example 3D art depicts elements like a white tiger and a tank. This page is a Reader's Prize giveaway from the magazine, featuring a variety of items. Top prizes include signed Game Boy Color consoles, including a special Pokemon Gold and Silver commemorative edition, and a signed Game Boy Pocket camera. There are also prizes of signed seal and card sets, featuring Chocobo and aliens. Game-related prizes include the N64 game Mickey's Speedway USA, the Game Boy Color title Donkey Kong 2001, likely Donkey Kong Country for Game Boy Color, and a selection of generic N64 and Game Boy software. A Game Boy mobile adapter is also up for grabs, along with a strategy guide for Pokemon Gold and Silver, and the Game Boy Color game Chocobo Land, a game of dice, which is called Chocobo and Aliens here. Finally, there are Telefang toy sets and a selection of Game Boy Color Wizardry games, Wizardry On, 2, and 2i. This page is a reader's questionnaire from 64Dream magazine. It asks readers to participate in a survey by selecting their favorite and least favorite articles from a list provided, as well as other magazines they read. The page also asks about preferred manga and TV shows. A large section lists upcoming N64 and Game Boy games anticipated for future release, such as Conker's Quest, Animal Crossing, Dubutsu no Mori, and Wario Land 4. Additionally, the page announces the winners of a reader's prize draw, with prizes including N64 games like Banjo-Kazooie and Mario Party 3, and Game Boy software such as Rockman DASH and Command Master. This page announces a significant change for the magazine, as 64Dream will be reborn as Nintendo Dream starting from the next issue, which is the May issue. The current issue is priced at 490 yen and will be released on March 21st, Wednesday. The next menu section highlights the upcoming issue with a Perfect Guide 50 to celebrate the release of the Game Boy Advance, and a major interview. The editorial section expresses gratitude to readers and excitement for the new Nintendo Dream direction. The editor's voice discusses being engrossed in Dragon Quest II on Game Boy, anticipating the Dragon Quest IV remake, and mentioning the release of Onimusha on PlayStation 2. The page also includes a staff list. The N Stadium section promotes the current April issue featuring Dragon Quest Monsters 2, The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages, and information about Pokemon Crystal on mobile platforms. At the top right is a Rokon Dream Diary manga panel with Mario and Sonic characters. This page is an advertisement for the simultaneous release of two new The Legend of Zelda games for the Game Boy Color. These are The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, where you manipulate the seasons and explore the land, and The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages, where you travel through time and solve mysteries. Both games are action-adventure titles for one player, compatible with the communication cable for linking. The advertisement highlights that these two connected stories use a link system. They were both released on February 27th, with a suggested retail price of 3,800 yen each. This page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Color game Pocket King by Namco, described as a fantasy simulation. The page features a large illustration of the game's protagonist, a blue-haired character with a sword, alongside various monster characters from the game. Text highlights that the game involves battles in a world of swords, magic, and monsters. It mentions raising units and strategically using them to defeat the demon army. The game also features a battle mode for unit combat and collection elements to complete unit data. The release date is stated as February 23rd, and the price is 4,500 yen, excluding tax. The game is compatible with Game Boy and Game Boy Color, and also supports Super Game Boy and communication cables for multiplayer. Screenshots at the bottom left show in-game scenes, including dialogue and map screens.